Men of strength rise up, endure the path of perseverance sure. With every trial we stand tall, our faith in God our all in all.
Gotta get comfortable.
Heck yeah, dude. Dig it. Double dog dig it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so we can talk about, there's that verse about just like angels having been touching the hearts of many people and helping them realize the importance of their faith. I do kind of feel like there's like a resurgence of faith in the country right now. Like I feel like a lot of people for a long time, like having faith in God or like religion was kind of a like don't talk about it or like
Taboo.
don't. Yeah. But I feel like a lot of, and I think a lot of it has this resurgence of podcasting where like people are actually talking about like how they actually feel versus just like media where it was like, oh, TV shows and news, where I feel like a lot of it is kind of stemming from. But I do feel like a lot of people are starting to, similar to Alma's day, a lot of people are starting to realize how important faith is to them, what it means and how it can actually help you in your life versus just like, oh, you believe in a crazy higher power, that's crazy. Like I feel like a lot more people are like, that kind of makes sense. So I thought that was interesting this week in my reading, was that the people back then were the same as the people today. Like humanity is the same through generations. We still have like the same faults, the same issues. Like our technology and stuff becomes better, but deep down we're all kind of the same.
Yeah, well, we're all natural fallen men.
Yeah, exactly. And that was just kind of funny as I was reading it, because it just struck me how alike we are, and how that's changing. What are some, like, even lately, like on Joe Rogan's podcasts and stuff like that, like he's been a lot less hostile towards religion than he was like a year or two ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I've only have listened to Joe Rogan's podcast one time.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I actually don't listen to a lot of podcasts.
Yeah. All right. All right.
I do occasionally will listen to some.
Yeah.
And if, the last one I listened to on Joe Rogan was when he interviewed this jiu-jitsu guy who I really like called Mikey Musumeci.
Yeah.
He is insane. So insanely good.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the last podcast that I listened to.
Okay. No, yeah, there's like a ton of like the top podcasters who are like finding faith or like developing their own faith, kind of figuring things out. And it's just been really interesting to see the last little bit. And it's like crazy how popular they are. And so I think it's becoming a lot more normal for people to have discussions about their faith. Whereas like I feel like growing up like in high school and stuff, there were like two camps. You were either like full-blown Christian or you were like atheist and believed in the Big Bang. And it was like, okay. Whereas now, like I feel like a lot more people are like looking at it, okay, but like how did the Big Bang happen? It wouldn't just like happen. Like someone had to start that off, or like, you know, it's just been interesting to see more and more people are kind of opening up to the idea of God and what it means in their life.
Do you believe in the Big Bang?
I don't know. I definitely believe in the creation.
Right.
But like probably not.
Like, let's not kick this stuff. Let's not kick this universe off, and let's go Big Bang. Go.
I mean, it's possible that that's kind of how it works, and like if that's like there's some things that I think make sense Like, I can see how science has put that together.
Maybe, like, each universe that's created has, like, a boilerplate.
Or
It's
well,
like,
yeah.
"Go,
Or like, I
go."
mean, or like stars. We've got, like, all these stars everywhere, and they're, you know, they start and stop. So, like, it's possible that's how creation works. I don't
Yeah, I
know.
don't know.
But they also talk about how, like, at, like, the time of conception, like, if you watch the, like, sperm meet the egg,
Mhm.
there's, like, a
That flash of light.
yeah, there's, like, a some sort of reaction that's happening
Mhm.
on a atomic level, and so, like, who knows? Maybe that's how that works, and maybe it's the same thing when you're creating a sun, or you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So, who knows? Who cares? Like
I know.
like I'm like, "Yeah, whatever. I don't really care." To some people, it's, like, a really big deal. They will live and die on that hill, but I'm just like, "I don't really care." I know there's a God. He told me he created the world. I don't really care how he created it. I mean, I don't it doesn't matter to me, but
I'm right along the same lines.
yeah, yeah. Um, but I do think it's cool that someone who has created such a vast universe cares about me. This, like, tiny dude of 8 billion people on a world that,
So this might start us off on a tangent.
yeah, love
So
him.
and it's gonna be a little personal.
Yeah. Alright.
But, you just said, he cares about you.
Uh-huh.
How do you know that?
Um, through my experience with God and prayer and the effects that I see in my life and the lives of others, I know that he cares.
So then what do you say to people who talk about, because you said the effects of your life and the lives of others, but what about, the people who are like suffering every single day, third world countries, war-stricken lands, their families are dying, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so what about those people?
No, there's
And this is one of those things where I'm I'm really careful on the way I talk about the way God cares about us
yeah,
because it can be misconstrued because like, well, I see the effects of my life on how God cares about me. Okay, well, what are those effects? What exactly is that?
yeah,
Is it because you're blessed with a good family, because of this, because of that? Like, what is it that or that has made you feel like that? Because it's if it's just those tangible things that has created that feeling for you,
yeah,
then what is that saying about people who don't experience that, who don't experience that kind of a life where they have a good family, where they have a house, where they have a good job, where they have these where they're living a decent life, and what does that mean for them that God doesn't care about them?
yeah. Um, I think that there's a ton of different ways that you can spin it. I've felt the presence of the spirit and the presence of a a God, a loving God in my life. And it's not just tangible. Like yes, I've been very blessed. Anyone who lives in America is very blessed. And so I think that through my experiences and stuff that has happened to me in my life, like that's my own testimony of it. But at the same time, there are people in Africa or in South America that don't have anything, that aren't blessed the same as me,
So
who
then how
still
would
believe
you
it.
so then how would you so okay, so people that do believe it, sure. But what about those people who don't? How would you talk to them?
Um, I can only talk from my own experience. When I have issues with my belief in God, like when it wavers, or when
Mhm.
I'm like, is he there? Like, is he really hearing me, or is he doing this? I feel like it's a me problem and not a God problem. It means I'm not seeing the tender mercies of God in my life. I think you can find those tender mercies even when you're going through like the worst things ever. And I think the beauty in that is because our time here on earth is so short when you compare it to eternity. So like whatever happens in our time here, it's not going to disqualify us from an eternal
So this is
perspective.
so this is typically my answer because I've struggled a lot with um feeling like God does care about me, answers
Yeah.
my prayers and all those kind of things. Because there's just been, so many times in my life where I have prayed.
Mhm.
And this is another one of those things. It's like it's called the try harder gospel. Read more scriptures, pray
Yeah.
more, and then you'll be better.
Yep.
And it's total bullshit. But the where where I what I've experienced is, praying, not hearing anything, not receiving answers and things like that. And then you hear like leaders of the church talking and being like, well, if you don't hear, like, God will always answer your prayer,
Mhm.
just not might not be on your timetable. Um, well, that means like 95% of my prayers have never been answered and are yet to be answered.
Yeah.
So it's like not an answer needs to be an answer and be able to accept that. But anyways, I'm kind of going off on a different tangent there. Hold on. Let me bring myself back about knowing and understanding that God cares about each and every one of us.
Yeah.
To me, there's like, sure, God can bless us different ways in our life, and that does just add on to him showing that he does care for us. But there's one in particular thing that doesn't matter where you are in the world or what you're going through in this life or any trial you're going through in this life or whatever, that shows that God is a caring, loving God. And this is something that a lot of people have a hard time grasping is it has nothing to do with how your life is, like, at all.
Yeah.
It has everything to do with the plan of salvation that God created the world so you can gain a body. He sent his son, Jesus Christ, to the earth to atone for your sins, to die on the cross and to be resurrected so that we can be resurrected again and then have the ability to be able to return to live with him again and be free of all the pain and suffering of this world.
Yeah.
That is the one thing that I feel like every single person needs to understand, regardless of what's going on in their life, whether good or bad.
Yeah. No, I like that, and I think I was trying to get to that by saying that, like, the whatever happens in this life is so small in the grand scheme of things with eternity. Like, it's not it's a minuscule blip of our existence, and so it doesn't necessarily matter how it's spent here on Earth. Um, I think that what you said is key and crucial, and I think that there's a lot there's a lot of truth to that, I guess is kind of the best way to say it. Is that is the foundation. That's the rock that keeps everything here.
Well, that's the that has to be the foundation.
Yeah.
It has to be.
Yeah. If
Because if you don't have the foundation and your your testimony on God's love for you is because you have an awesome wife, because you have good kids, because you have a good job, and because you have a decent house and all those kind of things that are all tangible.
Mhm.
If that's your foundation, you're in for a rude awakening.
Yeah. Well, and it can be taken away.
All of it
Like,
can.
yeah,
Literally all of it.
all of it. Um, and that's what's so what I love about it too is like that stuff is universal. Whether or not you've heard of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, or if you go to the local, Christian church or the local whatever, like we've all already earned our first estate, which is our bodies and the ability to through repentance and becoming better, get to live with God again and to have our bodies back and to be resurrected. And so, like, it's something universal that's not necessarily tied to a religion or tied to what's going on. Like, that's our gift. So it doesn't necessarily matter how long or how short your time is here on earth. It doesn't matter um how you spend your time here on earth. Like, we've all got that gift.
Mhm.
um your question reminded me of in Alma 14, one of the chapters that we're supposed to be reading. So um in Come Follow Me right now, Alma and Amulek, they've gone to the city of Ammonihah, and they've tried to teach the people there. The people are super evil. They don't like their teachings. But through their teachings, some of the people in the city are starting to get it, and they're starting to kind of change their ways and um start to believe in God again. Um, the leaders of the city and stuff don't like that, so they start to burn the people that are trying to follow Alma and Amulek. And um, there's kind of this scene that's set up in chapter 14 where they've taken Alma and Amulek and they've put them near this fire, and they're just like throwing people into this fire that believe in God. And it's like women, children, and anyone. They're just burning these people in front of them. And in verse 10, it says, when Amulek saw the pains of the women and children who were consumed by the fire, he also was pained, and he said unto Alma, how can we witness this awful scene? Therefore let us stretch forth our hands and exercise the power of God which is in us, and save them from the flames. Um and obviously, like, you can feel and understand the pain that Amulek and Alma must be going through at this point. Like, I can't even imagine witnessing that and having the power that they do, the ability that they do. At this point, um they've performed miracles. Alma's awesome, of course. It's Alma. Um and they're it's a very intense scene that's going on. But Alma said unto him in verse 11, the spirit constraineth me that I must not stretch forth mine hand, for behold, the Lord receiveth them up unto himself in glory. And he doth suffer that they may do this thing, or that the people may do this thing unto them, according to the hardness of their hearts, that the judgments which he shall exercise upon them in his wrath may be just, and the blood of the innocent shall stand as a witness against them, yea, and cry mightily against them in that last day. So, like, it goes right along with this whole pain and suffering thing.
Mhm.
It might not be to that scale right now, but in a way, we're all suffering in this life. Like, it doesn't matter if you're blessed like us. It doesn't matter if you're living on the streets in India. Like, there's some form of suffering that you're going through in this
Mhm.
life, and it's been paid for by Christ. And eventually, it's all gonna
Go away.
go away, and we're all gonna be okay, and we're all gonna be happy, satisfied, and moving on with our existence, regardless of what decisions we make, regardless of how stuff happens on earth. That's the gift that God has given to every single one of us. um and it's important to understand. Like you said, it's important for everyone to know and understand that. So there's power in that, and it's in the scriptures. You can find it here, you can find it in the Bible. um are, are you guys caught up with The Chosen at all?
No, not
Not
yet.
yet. Okay.
Not yet.
So there's, like, I won't give anything away, but there's so, like, I love the way that The Chosen has brought the Bible to life. um and I guess just allowed me to see it through different lenses. But, like, it's crazy to me how much better we are as a society at, like, caring for people than we were back then, or than they were in the Book of Mormon.
Mhm.
Like, I can't imagine, and it wouldn't happen in America, obviously, and I'm sure that there are places that do stuff like this and that have done stuff like this, but like just like burning people or stoning them because of something that they believe or something that they said, like we've come a long way as a society, even though it's easy to be like, oh, we're so bad, or oh, we're so evil, and all these things. Like there are differences that I see that are good in what we have even now in America, that when you compare it to biblically and scripturally in the past.
Hmm.
Um and so to me there's still a lot of good and a lot of cool stuff that we do nowadays that would seem unthinkable. Um and when you read about it in the scriptures, it's like, holy cow, like that's wild that the whole city would just like decide to do this and allow this to happen. And obviously it happens. It's horrible and it can happen today. I'm not saying that it won't, but we've come a long way through the years to get to where we are. And um in the in the chapters before, I think it's Alma 13, the first chapters of this week, um Alma talks about uh being like foreordained to be where we are at this point in time. um and just having faith and confidence in where we are and where God's put us. And I think that that relates a lot to our podcast and kind of what we're doing, because we feel this drive to better ourselves, while at the same time bringing masculinity back to the church, back to ourselves, back to teaching our sons to be men, and to have grit and to work hard and not be afraid to stand up for ourselves and to punch the bully at school and to do these things that are manly, quote unquote
Yeah.
manly, but do it in a way that you can have your head held high, you're doing the right thing, type thing. And it kind of runs and goes along with all that.
Punching the bully at school.
Freak yeah, dude. Sometimes they need it, man.
Yeah. 100% they do.
Yeah, I needed it a couple times in my life.
I've never been a bully.
Yeah,
I remember was one time though in middle school
yeah,
where I was friends with some bullies though,
yeah,
and they started bullying this kid and I had like no idea what to do.
yeah,
I was like standing back and I'm like just like in total shock. I was like, I have no idea how to react to this.
yeah,
Like none at all. Because I really should have just stopped my friends and been like, stop doing this, you freaking idiot.
yeah.
Like, what are you doing? But like there was this kid named Nate, and they would always be like, Nate, constipate. Stupid,
Just like dumb.
just like dumb names or whatever. And they would go up to him and like get in his face and say stuff. And I even remember this one time, like he went up there, my friend Joe went up there and was saying this stuff to him and then like punched him in the face.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Just like out of nowhere for no reason at all.
Yeah,
And like that's like burned in my brain and I didn't know what to do.
yeah,
I had no idea what to freaking do.
yeah,
Cause it's like I like I wish I had like the knowledge, like some of the knowledge about that kind of stuff back then so I could have like done
tried to
something.
do something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was never a bully either, but I probably like verbally bullied people
Yeah.
sometimes. And like I probably chalked it up to like guys of like, "Oh, I'm just making fun of you. It's just like part of the whatever." But like, yeah, I feel bad. Like a couple people in high school and middle school and stuff. I could say that like I feel pretty bad about treating him that way. Um and I could have used a punch in the face for sure. Um and you know, I
Yeah.
don't.
I mean, I remember in elementary school being bullied a bit and even getting into some fist fights or whatever in elementary school,
Yeah,
but it didn't last too long. Like it lasted a while, but not too long because I fought, like I literally fought back.
yeah,
And I remember even like this one day, there's so many like burned memories in my brain from fighting in elementary school. Um, and then I like look at my kids and I'm like, I was fighting all the time. Like they're just like dee, 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 dee.
Don't do it all.
Like nothing at all. But like I remember this one fight in my classroom. I don't remember why it happened. I
Yeah.
just remember all of a sudden it was like me and this kid, because we had issues, a lot of issues, me and this particular kid.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna say his name because my daughter ended up being his daughter's friend in elementary school.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice. All right.
So weird. So weird. But anyways, we just wrestled for whatever reason. Desks fell over, like
Yeah.
binders were all over the place. My binder was a mess for the rest of the year because half of the stuff in it got ripped out from us fighting in there. And then we had suspension and in school suspension and whatever. But I had gotten multiple fights with that kid.
Well, it's interesting now too, because I think I never fought with anyone going to school, but like sometimes scraps and stuff would happen. Um, Now like they've buffered it so much to where I feel like it's not necessarily a physical fight, but they pick at each other with their words, or like who can play what game, or like just different things like that. Like
Mm,
I feel like growing up people would have a disagreement, they would fight, they'd get suspended, or you'd get in trouble, or they'd just tell your parents and your parents would discipline you. Um Whereas now I feel like the schools can't discipline, and so they just try to like create an environment where there can never be a physical altercation. And then what that does is they find different ways to like have the same result, but not physically like
yeah,
just fight it out.
I think my I don't know if my oldest ever saw fights in school, but I know my second oldest only saw like one.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, that's weird.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I
Like
remember
super weird.
yeah, I remember in high school it was like it was almost like a weekly thing. There'd be someone, "Oh, dude, after school at Maggie Moo's, we're gonna fight." Like, I swear it was all the time.
I went to a
Um,
fight after school once where a gun was pulled.
no way.
Yeah.
Jeez Louise, dude.
Luckily, I was on the side of where the gun was pulled, but
Yeah.
it didn't matter. As soon as that gun came out, we were like, "Oh
It was
crap!" And
probably
we
like an
just like
airsoft gun.
sprinted. No, it was a real gun.
For real?
It
Jeez.
was a rifle. It
Uh,
was like a 22 or something.
Dude,
It
could
wasn't a
you
big gun,
imagine?
but
Oh my word, dude. Well, that's I don't know, it was just a different world. One time I took airsoft guns to school
oh
because I was
my.
gonna airsoft with my buddy after school, and, like, I didn't even tell anyone, it was just, like, in my backpack, um, and I think someone I was talking to I think my buddy and I were talking about airsofting after school,
Uh-huh.
and, like, it came out that I brought my gun, and I had it in my backpack, and anyway, it was, like, this big old deal. I didn't get into, like, a ton of trouble for it, but they just, like, searched my locker and anyway, took it away, and then I had to go pick it up at the end of the day and promise never to ever do it again. But it was just kind of funny. But, like, we would do that all the time. Now, like, dude, you would get in so much trouble, like,
Dude, you
for,
like
like,
go to
doing
prison.
this, you, like, get suspended, and I'm just like, "Dude, how do you like" it blows my mind just how it's changed. Um,
So there's, in this outline that I have,
yeah,
there's a couple things that, stuck out to me, and they all kind of tie together. Um, I'm going to list a few things: repentance and salvation, faith and endurance, the power of God's deliverance, and where's the last one? Trusting in God's deliverance. Oh, it's the same thing. Trusting in God, the power of God's deliverance, and trusting in God's deliverance. And so, um, it kind of goes back to what we were talking about knowing and understand that God cares about you.
yeah,
Is it this that falls in line with that? Trusting in God's deliverance is a process.
yes.
It's a process because when you want or feel you should be delivered, you might not
Yeah,
be delivered. And you're like, "Well, what the crap? Why not?" It's like, "I'm doing this right, I'm doing that right, I'm doing this right, like, why am I not being delivered? Like, I don't understand." And that was one of the things that why I felt like God didn't care about me for so long was because struggling with X, Y, and Z and, like, doing the best I could to try to overcome it
Yeah.
and utilizing prayer to overcome it by, eh, like, "I can't handle this, God, like, I'm gonna give it for you to handle." But it's like, when you do that, like, that's the right thing to do, like, "I can't handle this, you can, I'm gonna give this to you to handle." The caveat to that, though, is, well, the way that God sees it, he might expect you and want you to handle it.
Yep.
And 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 understanding that you might just have to just sit in this crappy situation that you're in and just trust him that eventually it'll go away.
Yeah.
Even that's maybe that's even when you're dead.
Yep.
And that's like the crappy thing. You will be delivered from whatever stuff you're going through in this life. You will be. It just might not be in this life,
Yep.
unfortunately.
Mhm. No, and going back to those people, that got thrown into the fire, like, it would have been so easy for them to, they weren't believing. Alma and Amulek show up, convert them, and then, like, immediately the city's like, "All right, you believe now, we're gonna burn you." It would be so easy for them to be like, "Oh, I'm just kidding," or, "Oh, whatever," oh, like, to turn away from God, but they chose, I mean, not they didn't chose to physically die, but they chose that over turning from God, and
Yeah, they
that's,
chose to trust God.
yeah, a crazy, like, testimony of just how cool and powerful, their teachings were. I mean,
Yeah.
to have someone change that much and then be willing to die, like, almost immediately for it is crazy to me. Like, I don't I have a testimony of God, but I don't know if when the time came, if it was like, "All right, dude, like, you're either gonna denounce your belief in God or you're gonna be thrown into this fire," like, I don't, that would be a super hard decision to, like, to make, and I'd like to believe that I'd be like, "Oh, heck yeah, let's do it," but, I don't know.
I would just be going down swinging.
Yeah, yeah.
It
At
would
that
be
point,
like,
just try to try to
yeah.
kill the people that are hurting you. Yeah. Um,
As you throw me, I'm gonna try to grab you and bring you
to tear
down with
tear you
me.
in with them. Yeah, I mean, it'd be
Burn
hard.
in hell.
A horrible thing to go through, but it goes along with that whole thing, like, the if you have that knowledge that no matter what happens, like, physical pain is only gonna take you so far, like, eventually the pain's gonna be gone. When you're gonna die and it'll be gone, or it'll be gone in a different way, but eventually that's gonna be gone. And you won't have that, and you'll be able to move on from whatever befalls you in this life.
Mhm.
Um, and that's looking at it at that eternal perspective, and knowing and understanding
Steadfast
our
warrior
place in the
holding
plan
fast.
Think
helps with that.
Faithful
celestial.
Exactly.
trust
Yeah.
through darkest fen. God guides the hearts of steadfast men.